What's up, basketball fans? Today I'm going to show you the first version of my NBA 2K26 realistic sliders. The whole point of these sliders is pretty simple. Make the gameplay feel more realistic and smooth out the flaws that drive us all crazy with the default settings. For example, shot timing suddenly gets way harder in NBA 2K26, right? And it's inconsistent the second you jump above pro difficulty. So I toned that down, especially for contested shots. Player movement was also way too fast, floaty and full of those random speed-up animations, and that's largely fixed. And computer players, man, they are no longer complete clowns. They react better on defense and play with smarter tendencies on offense. Now, I'm not gonna claim these sliders are perfect or that they will fix every issue in NBA 2K26, but I've tested a ton of community sliders and honestly none of them hit that sweet spot for me personally. So I mixed and matched what worked, tweaked things myself that didn't work, and honestly, this is the most fun I've had in NBA 2K26 so far. Of course, how much you will enjoy these sliders depends a lot on you, especially your shot timing skill level. That's why I see these sliders as more of a base, a reference point you can start from and adjust to your own liking. Alright, let's get into it. First up, let's talk about the gameplay settings that I use with these sliders. For game speed, I recommend using 47. That gives you a nice balance in my opinion. It's not too fast and it's not too sluggish either. But if things still feel a little quick, don't be afraid to drop the game speed to 44 or maybe 45. Now about difficulty. It really doesn't matter what you set here because the sliders will overwrite it anyway. I built my slider set on Hall of Fame difficulty, but don't let that scare you. Shooting is more consistent and achievable here, even if it's still tough to master the timing. So really don't get pushed away by Hall of Fame name of the difficulty, just give these sliders a good try before you judge them. And hey, if this video hits 400 likes, I will remake these sliders specifically for Superstar and All-Star shot timing difficulty for those of you who want a little bit easier shot timing available while keeping things realistic. So yeah, smash that like button if you want those versions. Now when it comes to controller settings, here's what I run. Shot timing on, layup timing off, and free throw timing on. Layups just feel too clunky to time properly, at least for me, but if you like having layup timing on, you might need to tweak the layup defense sliders later on a bit so that it matches your skill level. For the shot timing visual cue, I highly recommend using push. Out of all four options, it feels the most reliable and easiest to read. The rest of the controller setup is mostly personal preference, but I'll show you exactly how I've got mine configured. And finally, the HUD. I keep things pretty minimal because I really enjoy immersion in sports simulators, so most indicators are turned off. The only one I always leave on is the player indicator, which I set to small. I also keep shot feedback visible when I'm learning or testing new sliders. And of course the big one here, the shot meter. I set it to large so I can actually see the green window pretty well. And this year we've got a ton of meter styles, but my favorite is curve. It's clean, consistent and easy to read. Actually, most of the curved bar types are pretty solid in general, but a few of them look weird or feel slightly delayed when it comes to timing. It's kinda weird, you know? Alright, with all the setup explained, let's finally get into the actual sliders. For the most part, I've kept things the same between user and CPU sliders, but there are a few differences here when it comes to offense sliders. The rest should be almost identical. So, shooting percentages both for you and the CPU are still a little bit of a work in progress for me. I'll keep monitoring them, and if you guys start seeing any wild stat lines in your games, especially from the computer, let me know in the comments. The more data we gather, the better these sliders get in the future. From my testing, changing shot success values doesn't really change the size of the timing window. At 100 value, the green zone is basically the same as with 0. The only difference is that everything goes in no matter what. So if you want more leeway and don't want to always be forced to hit greens, you can bump up those values for your own taste. I also boosted dunking traffic frequency slightly, but I balanced it by lowering the effectiveness, so you will see more attempts in the game without it turning into NBA Jam. Pass accuracy got also a small bump, but don't be too happy or comfortable with that, because I also tuned defensive sliders, so you will actually see more turnovers than in default game setup. So you will need to be actually quite careful with your passing instead of just spamming it. Finally, I notched up ball security and dropped body up sensitivity just a notch. Then on the defensive side, I made a few key tweaks. First, I increased contact shot frequency to make drives and finishes feel more physical. Layup defense strength also got adjustments, but like I said earlier, keep in mind that I don't use layup timing, so I play with real player percentages here. For jump shot defense, I toned down defensive impact. On default sliders above Pro, contests are way too punishing. Sometimes a tiny contest makes your green window vanish completely. And with these sliders, you will still miss most well-contested shots, which is realistic, right? But you actually get the chance to see that green window on your screen and maybe time it if you are perfect. And thanks to Hall of Fame difficulty, it's still not a cakewalk. I don't drain every open look, especially with lesser shooters. And for me, this feels like the right balance. And the bonus is that lowering jump shot defense also got rid of one of the most annoying default issues that I've been experiencing, that the shot meter randomly speeds up or is delayed near green zone. And that inconsistency was really freaking annoying for me, I don't know about you. And now with these sliders, it feels way more consistent even when you are contested. Now for attributes, the biggest tweaks here are boosts to hustle, offensive, defensive awareness, and consistencies. Awareness and hustle especially make a huge difference in how players perform on the court. With these settings, players just act smarter on both ends of the court. There's less standing around, more reacting like real hoopers would, and noticing holes in opposing team. On tendencies, I shifted things around a bit. Close to the basket shots got a bump, while mids and threes got dropped slightly. And attacking the basket got a bigger boost. Sadly, this doesn't completely fix the drive and kick everything issue in NBA 2K26, but I believe it helps tone it down a little bit. I noticed it way less when playing actually in older eras, like the LeBron or Steph era teams, so I highly recommend to play older eras than the modern one, since there's also no 5-out issue with historical teams. Then I also cranked up alley-oop tendency, and it's been awesome. Teams that should be dangerous with lobs actually are, like the Lob City Clippers and White Horse Magic destroyed me with pick and roll lobs when I wasn't tagging the roller. But the cool part is that most teams don't spam alley-oops, so it still feels realistic. Passing lane aggression also got a boost, and combined with higher defensive awareness, you've really got to be smart with your passes, whether in transition or out of the pick and roll. And finally, I went heavy on contesting shots for both sides. Expect way fewer free looks. How about foul frequencies? Well, I went all in. Most are in the high 90s. But don't worry, that doesn't mean whistles are blown every possession. Weirdly enough, even at 100 slider, the game doesn't call enough fouls to be fully realistic as you would expect. So cranking them up just brings the game closer to reality without breaking things down. And now the last part of sliders, movement. I raised max ratings to 78 and lowered minimums to 32. Combine that with reduced game speed and movement feels way more balanced, dynamic, without the goofy floatiness or sudden animation warp speeds. And those are all my sliders. Right now on the screen you will see the full slider set for both CPU and user. If you want to try these sliders yourself, you can find them on PC by searching Machete in content name or Machete Plays as the username. Console players, sorry, you'll have to input them manually, but I've shown all the values so you can copy them to your own console. And like I said at the beginning, if this video gets 400 likes, I will make specific versions tuned for Superstar and All-Star to make it a little bit easier for those of you who struggle to time your shots perfectly on Hall of Fame shooting window. So smash that like button if you want those and let me know in the comments how the sliders actually feel for you. The more feedback I get, the better the next version will be. Anyway, that's all from me in this video. Thanks for your time and I'll see you in the next one.